Hello guys, today I am here to explain about Magic Shop. Let us see the poet of Magic Shop. The poet of Magic Shop is Herbert George Wells, and he was born 1866 in England, and his parents were shopkeepers in England. His first novel is Time Machine, and he is his father of science fiction, and he died in the year 1946. So now let us go through the story, which is very interesting. So let us go through that. I had seen the magic shop far from afar several times. Here I refers to the narrator. He is telling his experience. So he tells, I had seen the magic shop from far afar several times. I had passed it once or twice. A shop window of alluring little objects, magic balls, magic hens, wonderful coats, ventriloquist dolls, and the material of the basket tricks, packs of cards. So here what he is trying to tell that once he had passed the shop window of magic shop, what he had seen here, alluring word means attractive. Alluring word means attractive. What objects he had seen? He had seen magic balls, magic hens, wonderful quotes, ventriloquist dolls. Here ventriloquist refers to a person who speaks so that the voice seems to come from elsewhere. And the material of basket tricks and a pack of cards. So these were the things he had seen. The narrator had seen. All looked all right and all sort of things, but never I had thought of going in until one day. He had never thought of entering such shop until one day, almost without warning. Gift hauled me by my finger right up to the window. Here, the Gift is the son of the narrator. Right? Gift is the son of the narrator. Hauled me by my finger right up to the window. Hauled me here refers to pull something with great effort. So Gift pulled him by his finger right up to the window and so conducted himself that there was nothing for it but to take him in. So here what the narrator is trying to tell is Gift, his son pushed him, like he was forced to enter the shop because of his son. Then comes and so conducted himself as nothing but to take him in. I had not thought the place was there. So the narrator had never thought that such place existed, to tell the truth. Now let us see where the shop was located. So the location is here, it is very important. The shop was located a modest sized frontage in Regent Street. So where the shop was located? The shop was located in the Regent Street, where between picture shop, it is mentioned between picture shop and the place where chicks run about just off patent incubators. Patent incubators refers to a machine for keeping eggs warm until they hatch. So where the place is? Between the picture shop and the chicks run, where the chicks run. Then it was sure enough. Then the narrator says, I had fancied it was down near the circus. I had fancied. Here fancied refers to he had an idea or he had imagined something that this kind of shop could be near the circus or round the corner in Oxford Street or even in Holborn. So he just imagines that it could be near the circus or Oxford Street or Holborn. Always over the way and little inaccessible it had been. Inaccessible refers to it was not accessible to the people, with something of the mirage in its possession. Mirage refers to illusion in its possession. But here it was quite indisputably. But now he tells, here it is. Indisputably means undoubtedly he found it. Like undoubtedly here the magic shop is. And the fat end of Gift's finger pointing made a noise upon the glass. So he pointed, Gift pointed with a noise. Then the Gift tells in the next line, if I was rich. The Gift tells, if I was rich, dabbing a finger at a disappearing egg. Dabbing refers to touch something lightly. So what does he touches? The things. The things I mentioned here. Dabbing the finger means touching it slightly. Disappearing egg, the crybaby. All these are tricks. Disappearing egg, the crybaby, the human, buy one and astonish your friends. And vanishing halfpenny. He describes all this. Like he tells, I would buy myself that. And so called a neat card asserted, buy one and astonish your friends. Anything, said Gift, will disappear under one of those cones. So Gift tells that anything which is there under this cone will disappear. He had read all this in the books. Then he tells, and their dada is the vanishing halfpenny. Only they have put it in this way so that we cannot see how it is done. Then he talks about vanishing halfpenny also. Anyhow, we know that magic tricks are done in a suspicious way so that we cannot find out how it is done. So here he tells that, dear boy inherits his mother's breeding and he did not propose to enter the shop or worry in any way. Only quite unconsciously, he lugged my finger doorward and he made his interest clear. So Gift inherits. Inherits here means the quality or characteristic of his mother. What characteristic? That he did not propose to enter the shop or worry in any way. Only quite unconsciously, he lugged the narrator's finger. Lugged here refers to carry or pull something. Lugged the narrator's finger doorward and he made his interest clear. What was his interest? He made his interest clear of entering the magic shop. That he said, and he pointed at a magic bottle. So first thing he points out, the gift points out, is at the magic bottle. If you had that. The narrator asked him, at which the promising enquiry, he looked up with a sudden radiance. Sudden radiance means with sudden spark. He looked up when his father asked him the question. He told, I could show it to Jesse. So he wanted to show it to Jesse. He said, thoughtful as ever of others. He was very thoughtful as the others. Then the father made his interest also clear to take his child into the magic shop because it was less than 100 days left for his birthday. So, it's less than 100 days to your birthday, Gibbs, I said, and laid my hand on the door handle. So, finally, they entered the shop. Gib made no answer, but his grip tightened on my finger, and so we came into the shop. It was no common shop, this. It was a magic shop, and all the prancing precedence Gib would have taken in the matter of mere toys was wanting. Here, prancing refers to move about. Precedence means important or priority. He left the burden of conversation to me. Burden refers to burden. So the child left the burden of conversation to his father. It was now the narrator describes the shop, how it looked. It was a little narrow shop, not very well lit, and a doorbell pinged again with a plaintive note as we closed it behind us. So when they ring the bell of the door, it was with a pinged it again with a plaintive note. Here, plaintive refers to sad or mournful. So when they ring the bell with a plaintive note as we closed it behind us. For a moment or so, we were all alone and could glance about us. Now they were all alone in the shop. Then he describes what he sees at the counter. So there was a tiger in a paper mache on the glass case that was covered at the lower counter. Here, tiger in paper mache. Paper mache means it's made out of paper. So there was a tiger which was made out in paper mache on the glass case. It was covered on the lower counter. How the tiger was is explained in the next line. A grave, kind-eyed tiger. Tiger waggled his head in a methodical manner. So the tiger shook his head in a methodical manner. And what and all he saw? He saw the several crystal spears, a china hand holding magic cards, stock of fish balls, magic hats. But he describes magic hats in a different way. He says an immodest magic hat that shamelessly displayed his springs. Immodest means embarrassed. Something is opposite of modest is immodest. And on the shamelessly displayed its springs. Then now he describes the floorings. On the floor there were magic mirrors. So what were the magic mirrors? One to draw you out, long and thin. So when they saw in the magic mirror, one was like they showed the person as very long or sometimes thin, or one to swell your head. Swell means to bulge your head and vanish your legs sometimes, and one to make you short and one to make you fat like a drawd. And while we were laughing, so the child and his father were seeing all this and they were laughing because it was really funny at this shopman, and they were laughing at all these things, and the shopman came in. Now in the next slide he describes how the shopman looked. The shopman looked curious. Curious means with curious, sallow, dark man. So sallow refers to unhealthy. Curious means very interesting, something which we are curious to know about. With a one ear larger than the other and a chin like a toe cap of a boot. So chin was little pointed. So the toe cap of a boot will be pointed the same way his chin was pointed. Then the first thing the shopkeeper asked was, "What can we have the pleasure?" he asked, spreading his long magic fingers on the glass case. And so with the start we were aware of him. So the narrator said, "I want to buy my little boy a few tricks." Then the shopkeeper asked, "Legerdemain?" Legerdemain means skillful use of one's hand when performing a tricks. And he asked, "Mechanical, domestic, anything amusing?" said the narrator. Said the shopkeeper, and stretched his head for a moment as if thinking. So the shopkeeper said, "Okay, let me search." Like he scratched his head for a moment as if he was thinking. Then quite distinctly what he did, he suddenly drew from his head a glass ball. Now the first thing which the shopkeeper shows to the father and the gift was the glass balls. Something in this way, he said, and held it out. The action was unexpected. The showing of glass ball was unexpected. The narrator says that he had seen this trick done at entertainments endless times before. It's a part of common stock of conjurers. Here, conjurers refers to a person who performs magic tricks. So the narrator says that he had seen many people doing this. Conjurers means magician. In fact, in short, it is called as magician who does all these tricks. But he had not expected this to be happen here. "That's good," he said with a laugh. Isn't it? Said the shopkeeper. Gibb stretched out his disengaged hand to take this object and found a merely blank palm. So Gibb suddenly wanted the ball because it was very interesting. So, but the ball was not there in the shopkeeper's palm. Then the shopkeeper said, "It's in your pocket," said the shopman, and there it was. And yes, it was in his pocket. It was in his pocket. And how much will that be? The narrator asked. So the shopkeeper said, "We make no charge for the glass balls." Shopkeeper said, "It's free of cost. We get them." He picked one out of his elbow. So after one he gave from his head, the second one he picked one out of his elbow as he spoke free. He produced another from his back of his neck and laid beside its predecessor on the counter. Gibb regarded his ball sagely. Gibb regarded this ball sagely. Sagely refers to in a wise manner. So Gibb regarded this ball sagely and then directed a look of inquiry at the two on the counter and finally brought his round-eyed scrutiny to the shopman, who smiled. "You may have those," said the shopkeeper, "and if you don't mind, one for my mouth." So totally the shopkeeper gives 4 balls to Gibb for free. First, when he pulled out of his head, and then he pulled out of his head, the shopkeeper pulled out of his head, and then it suddenly transfers into his pocket in a magic way. Then second one elbow, third one neck, and fourth one mouth. So totally he gives the 4 glass balls for free of cost. Gibb counseled the narrator mutely for a moment. Then in a profound silence, with put away the 4 balls, resumed my reassuring finger and nerved himself for the next event. So he was very excited for the next event. Again he held the hand of his father, finger of his father in fact, and he was very excited for the next event to occur. So the shopkeeper then now tells that we get all our smaller tricks done in this way. So he tells that how he showed Gibb and his father the magic tricks, the same way they performed their all smaller tricks. The narrator laughed in the manner of one who subscribes to a jest. Jest refers to joke. So he laughed at the statement. The narrator laughed at the statement. Jest means when a person reads a joke and laughs, the same way here the narrator laughs. Instead of going to the wholesale shop, I said, "Of course it's cheaper." So he says that instead of going to a wholesale shop where we need to buy many things, this is cheaper. The narrator asserted. In a way, the shopkeeper said, "Though we pay in the end, but not so heavily as people suppose. Our larger tricks and daily provisions and all the things we want, we get out of that hat." Now the shopkeeper, the most important point here is that the shopkeeper tells that their large tricks, daily provisions and all the things they get out of which place, that is hat. And you know, sir, he continues telling that, if you excuse me, my saying it, there isn't a wholesale shop, not for genuine magic goods, sir. So he tells that there's no, as he mentioned above about the wholesale shop, he tells that the shopkeeper tells that there isn't any wholesale shop for genuine magic goods. "Sir, I don't know if you noticed our inscription, the genuine magic shop." He drew a business card from his cheek and handed it to him. "Genuine," he said with his finger on the word, and added, "There's absolutely no deception, sir." So here the shopkeeper wants to make it clear that there's no wholesale shop for genuine magic goods. And here he makes a mention of genuine because he stressed on the word genuine. And then he takes out his business card from his cheek and tells that it is a genuine magic shop. And he tells that there is no deception. He uses this word genuine because to show that there is no deception. Deception here means there is no cheating or fraud being done here. He seemed to be carrying out the joke pretty thoroughly, I thought. So the narrator thought that he is carrying out the joke. As he mentioned about the jest in the earlier paragraph, he tells that he is carrying out this joke pretty thoroughly. He turned to the Gibb with a smile of affability. "You know, you are the right sort of child." So then the shopkeeper smiled at Gibb with a remarkable affability. Affability means politeness or friendly manner. He smiled at him and he told that you are the right sort of boy. Why he told right sort of boy? Let us see in the further paragraph. He told right sort of boy. The term right sort of boy was used only for Gibb. I was surprised at knowing this. The narrator tells that he was very surprised at knowing that he was called right sort of boy, because in the interest of discipline, we keep it rather secret even at home. But Gibb received it in an unflinching silence, keeping a steadfast eye on him. So the narrator tells that he was surprised to know that the shopkeeper called him the right sort of boy, because for the interest of a discipline, we keep it rather secret even at home. So they keep it as a secret because they want him to make more discipline. So they keep it in a secret. But Gibb received it in an unflinching silence. Unflinching refers to determined silence, but keeping a steadfast eye on him. Steadfast means faithful eye on him. The shopkeeper kept a steadfast, faithful eye on him. It's the only right sort of boy gets through the doorway. Again he claims that it's the right sort of boy who gets through the doorway. Right sort of boy, why he just keeps on telling the right sort of boy, Now we will get to know why he keeps on telling the right sort of boy through the 2 illustrations given below. And as if by the way of illustration, there came a rattling at the door. Rattling means the sound at the door, and a squeaking little noise could be faintly heard. Nyaya, I wanna go there in Dada. I wanna go there, Nyaya. And then the essence of the downtrodden parent urging consolations and appropriations. It's Lord Edward. So here, what the first illustration tells that there was a boy standing outside with his downtrodden parent. Downtrodden parent here means downtrodden means poor. Poor parent. He also wanted to enter the magic shop, but his parent consoled him. Consoled him, telling that the magic shop is locked. His name was Edward. Consoled him that the magic shop was closed, and he Edward. And propriety refers to appease or gain favor of. So it was in the favor of the poor parents, as if, because the magic shop was closed. Appropriation, which refers to a noun form of appropriate. Now next. But it isn't, said I. So the narrator said that it isn't locked. It is, sir, said the shopman. Always for that sort of thing. So the shopman tells that only the right sort of boy can enter. So it is locked for that sort of boy, means he is referring to Edward. That refers to the Edward. As he spoke, we had a glimpse of another youngster. So now second example comes in. So the glimpse of another youngster, a little white face, tired from sweet eating. Oversapid food. Sapid refers to flavors. Oversapid food and distorted by all evil passions. A ruthless little egoistic, pawing at an enchanted pain. Here, pawing refers to touching, and enchanted means magical, pain at glass means a person, even a little boy, another youngster wanted to enter the magic shop. Even a little person wanted to enter the magic shop, but he was ruthless, little egoistic, pawing at enchanted pain. It's no. Good, sir, said the shopman, as it moved with a natural helpfulness doorward, and presently the spoiled child was carried off howling. So the child was also carried off. Even the second youngster was carried off. The spoiled child. Why the spoiled child is here? It is used because they tell that it was ruthless and egoistic. So the word spoiled child was used. So this is how the shopkeeper tells why Dick was the right sort of boy. He shows only the right sort of boy can enter the magic shop.